Do you have a subversive thinker, living or dead, could be a writer, could be even a business person, that you think people should look up, look into, know more about, that's underrated and would influence people in a good direction?
Subversive thinker that's underrated?
Yeah.
I'll probably get in trouble for saying this.
Nah,
I mean, I'd say, how about like Theodore Kaczynski?
Good one. Actually, yeah.
Probably not great to be talking about Unabomber while campaigning, but
probably not great to be talking about how underrated I think the Unabomber's political philosophy was, but I'm gonna push through that like gut feeling that I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm gonna do it anyway. It was an open-ended question. He could have listed anyone that he thinks is underrated, but Blake Masters, who might well be a senator in not too much longer, felt like Ted Kaczynski was the one that he needed to shed light on. And look, we're showing you that video to give you a little bit of it. It's like a first taste of who this candidate is. This isn't even the scandal that we're here to talk about, Jessica, but I do think it's worth noting that when these guys are so lacking in a fundamental humanity, like emotional intelligence, ability to be a social creature, he couldn't come up with something else in the moment. He just went with the Unabomber. What do you think?
I think it's quite funny considering Ted Kaczynski's background, right? This was someone who was a young student at Harvard who had some radical ideas, and the CIA was conducting experiments there trying to see if they could change people's minds during the Cold War era. And they tortured him and they created a monster. And so he's idolizing someone who is a monster created by the CIA, which is kind of ironic when you think about what the right is. Pretty much a product of US imperialism and just years of brutality in the United States. I think it's ironic that he looks up to someone like Ted Kaczynski.
I know, look, it is possible that maybe he hasn't thought it through too much, but he also strikes me, and from everything that I've seen of his background and his backing from these like crypto connected libertarian like billionaires and everything. This is a guy who definitely thinks that he's thought more about all of his positions than other people. This is a guy who I'm sure has a great deal of confidence in his positions, but when he opens his mouth, tends to be the fact that dumb comes out. But anyway, like I said, we're not here to talk about the Ted Kaczynski thing. We're here to talk about gun violence because he has thoughts on it. And if he becomes a senator, his thoughts about gun violence, what causes it, what doesn't, become very important. So he recently said, this is an interview on the Jeff Oravits Show podcast. He said, "We do have a gun violence problem in this country, and it's gang violence. It's people in Chicago, St. Louis shooting each other. Very often, black people, frankly, and the Democrats don't want to do anything about that." Now, I can't say for sure whether, like with the Ted Kaczynski thing, he felt briefly, maybe I should word this differently or not say the thing that pops into my head, but he just pushes forward. He's a bold candidate in that way. So gun violence in America, it's black people. Frankly, that's what he says. Now, look, this is only maybe 10% more explicitly a racist take on gun violence than the vast majority of Republicans will give us. But he chose to go in that direction, Jessica. What do you make of it?
I am almost happy he said this as clearly as he did, because for a long time, Republicans have been trying to make the debate about guns about black on black gun violence, right? They always bring this up. They're obsessed with this talking point. And we know that about 60% of mass shootings were committed by white people. And we know recently in Buffalo that the shooter had Nazi symbols on his gun and mostly targeted black people in a black neighborhood, right? And I think we need to think a little bit more deeply about the root cause of the violence, because ever since the end of slavery in the United States, outside of prisons, right, slavery is still legal as a punishment for a crime under the 13th Amendment. But black people in the United States have not been meaningfully incorporated into the formal economy. And what do people do when they don't have a way to make a living to meet their material needs? They'll go to the illicit economy, right? They're forced essentially to join gangs to meet their material needs. This is happening in the black community and the refugee and immigrant community as well. And so at the end of the day, if you think about it, the reason they're engaging in this violence and the reason they are in gangs is because of the consequences of white people, of people who uphold and create white supremacy in this country and exclude these people systemically from the economy.
Yeah, look, everything that you said makes total sense, and I agree. I think there are so many different ways that this, even when they cloak it a little bit better than Blake Masters is emotionally or intellectually capable of doing, when they say, oh, you care about this mass shooting that just happened that so many do, why don't you care about Chicago? It doesn't make sense for a lot of different reasons. First of all, I think you laid out several different good reasons. Another is the gun control measures that the Democrats would propose to stop the kind of gun violence that they want to focus on would also limit gun purchases in the other side. So arguably they are addressing all of them similarly. Nobody wants more AR-15s in Chicago or St. Louis either. I just also don't want them in Uvalde. So that's definitely true. Also, like, can we focus, like for instance, if it was a thing where every week someone was poisoning kale crops and people were dying, it wouldn't make sense to say, stop trying to regulate kale. After all, people eat trans fats in Tampa Bay. Well, like, I get that those are both about food, but we're identifying a particular sort of crime and we're trying to deal with this. We should also deal with the trans fats thing. I will give you that, but can we focus? That's my point. He's not interested in it though, because this is not about a disagreement on how to fix a problem. It's a disagreement on whether it's a problem. We want to fix it, they don't. They want to get past a politically fraught time where maybe people care enough for something to happen. This is all about stalling. They flavor the way they stall differently. Some of them focus on marijuana, some of them focus on doors, some of them focus on Chicago, but it is all about just getting us past this period. He, unlike some of those who are a bit more savvy on Fox News, is trying to get a little bit of the racist good stuff out of this that he knows some of his base wants. But anyway, like I want to give people a little bit more of an idea of who this person is. So I went back and I got a part of one of his ads that we might have talked about previously on the show. Let's go to that excerpt now.
America isn't just an idea. We're a country. We're a people with a history and a culture. This is the home of Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone, of Mark Twain and Ernest Hemingway, of Norman Rockwell and Chuck Berry. Or how about, I can hear the screeching already. That list isn't diverse enough. That's all these people can talk about. But when's the last time you heard NPR talk about American greatness? When's the last time you heard a leftist say anything good at all about our people? They don't do it. If it were up to them, we wouldn't even exist. That's why they're obsessed with tearing down statues.
So look, there have been a lot of Republican ads that are trying to reassure their base that they have the same position on things like great replacement theory and all that. But that is one of the most explicitly racist ads I think I've seen. Like, when have they said a good thing about our people? That's why they don't want us to exist. They think we should have listed black people in our list of great Americans. No, I want to focus on our people. Why won't they compliment us? I have to agree, as a white person growing up, maybe you can attest to this, Jessica, I've never heard anything positive ever said about a white person before. I feel like there's been a lot of erasure of the contributions of white people historically in the arts, in politics, in all of these things. So he's got a point. No, he doesn't believe any of this. But if you can draw from an ad the sort of person that a candidate is trying to appeal to, I think he has been very clear in that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's absolutely the descent into fascism and white supremacy that's so prevalent in our country. And he makes it sound so poetic, right? His delivery, and he's in the middle of the wilderness. And then he's invoking this message of fear into people that he hopes will vote for him out of fear. And he's saying that people on the left, he hardly hears saying good things about our people, but people on the left are saying everyone needs to have healthcare, everyone needs to have a good paying job. If anything, it's an ideology based on values and based on love and caring for other people. Clearly their ideology is based on hatred, right? It's based on white supremacy. It's very obvious, but it's just veiled in this really weird rhetoric and messages of fear that they try and make seem like these brilliant, groundbreaking ideas. And people are buying into it, and it's unreal. And I'm surprised, honestly, that he didn't just add Ted Kaczynski after Chuck Berry onto that list of people.
endorsed by. That's yeah. I don't know. And look, we'll have to see with him. I think the Arizona primaries August 2nd. So we'll see. Maybe he won't be successful, but he's got a lot of backing. Peter Thiel has put $10 million into backing him, to give you an idea of the sort of person that Peter Thiel is and everything. Maybe that won't be enough, but Donald Trump also endorsed him. Like, this is what the right, both the money and their highest profile politicians are getting behind. This is what they see the future of their party actually being. So have fun with that, America.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.